Yeah, Leeds, they did well last year. They were very physical, and they've tried to add to that. So they woke up early in the transfer market. They signed Harry Wilson on a free from Fulham, um, which I was slightly surprised at that they were able to do it. But I think the fact that they'd made contact with him last summer to try and sort of build a relationship, they tried to get him on loan, and Fulham weren't sure. They almost went for that last summer. So I think Wilson's wanted to come with Ampadu and Dan James and Joe Rodon, previously Carl Darlow here, all the Welsh lads, and Wilson seems to fancy it. So yeah, they're giving him a good wage, a good 4-year contract, but he's in, and the idea being that he will add some technical ability, some set piece quality, perhaps more of a goal threat than Brendan Aronson, who will remain a key part of the squad, but will be able to rely less on Brendan Aronson in that sort of right inside forward role behind Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Leeds lost Pascal Struijk. He had 1 year left on his contract, the left-sided centre-back, good player. They sold him to Brighton for £20 million approximately, which with 1 year left is not too bad. It is a worry because he's quite good on the ball, Struijk, and he's quite good in the air as well. He does have some injury concerns. In fact, I believe he hasn't played a game in pre-season for Brighton. So that aspect of it, maybe thought that Leeds would have been thinking, well, he's not signing a new contract on the terms we like, and maybe we can improve. So they went and signed Tariq Murahamovic from, and I've probably butchered his surname, but Tariq, Bosnian centre-back, who's come in. Now, he's an interesting one. Previously belonged to Juventus, and they got a cut of the £40 million deal. So Leeds will feel like they spent £20 million on him, I suppose, and they've upgraded. He's only 23, but he looks in pre-season a bit of a classy operator. I'm always wary that going into the Premier League season, it's very different to friendlies. So let's see. But he looks good in the air. He's tall, he's big, he fits the mould of the physicality Leeds are after, and he looks decent on the ball. He's left-footed, he's left-sided, he's fit, he's ready to go. He'll be playing today against Augsburg in about a quarter of an hour. The other sort of big move from Leeds is Carl Darlow left on a free. He was out of contract. He signed as Manchester United's backup. I think that's partly because Leeds weren't willing to tell him, look, if you sign for us as a 35-year-old, we'll definitely make you the number one. So I can understand him going and getting a nicer contract, even if it is at Manchester United. Instead, Leeds sort of said, well, actually, this is an opportunity for us to upgrade, because Aston Villa had not sold Emi Martinez, and there were rumours that that was going to happen. And it kind of felt like if that happened, the next domino that would fall would be they would sign James Trafford from Manchester City. But Leeds sort of thought, well, we're the only Premier League team left that really needs the starting goalkeeper, apart from Coventry and Ipswich and newly promoted teams, but Coventry went and got Rushworth back from Brighton and so on and so forth. So I think Leeds will be thinking that Trafford's a big upgrade on Darlow, who did well last year, but isn't particularly good with his feet. Carl Darlow, he's a bit uncomfortable with that at times. Trafford looks much more confident, even just the way he's carrying himself in press conferences and talking to the media. But in the friendly the other night against Man United, let's see how he does today. But he's taller than you realize. He's taller than I realised, James Trafford, as well. You know, I saw him at Burnley in that great season, in the Championship winning season, where he sort of conceded 13 goals all season from like 26 XG, and you sort of know he's a talent, but I didn't realise he was quite as tall and physical as he is. So he can command his box, he is good on the ball, and I think Leeds will be quietly thinking, we've upgraded our entire back line here, not just with the signing of the new centre-back, but especially with this goalkeeper that we're hoping can hang around for 4, 5, 6 years and really take us to the next level. No other signings in. Joe Gelhardt left for $6.5 million. He signed with Hull. I can't say I'm disappointed with that. He was at Hull on loan last season. He's a talent, but he's not physically quite at the level of our wingers and offensive players. So good luck to him at Hull. He's done well for Leeds at lower levels. Issues to resolve. Well, it's sort of like cover mainly. There's no real sort of starting positions in the squad that need resolving at this point. It's more depth. They could do with left back cover. They have Gabe Goodmanson. He's injured. That could be a few weeks. It's not really been spoken about. It could be longer than a few weeks. James Justin can play left back. He will play left back. He's playing there today against Augsburg. But it leaves us very weak in the fullback areas, not least because Sam Byram isn't around anymore. He's not good enough anyway. But he was a sort of left and right emergency cover. We've kind of lost that. We're down into the youth squads, really. So they'll be looking for fullback cover, certainly. They're actively trying to sign some sort of left-sided forward, left winger, cam number 10 type to challenge Noah Okafor. Okafor is a really, really good player. He's our explosive winger, but he doesn't tend to do well after 60, 65 minutes in games. He flags, his fitness is a concern, he has games out. They need a bit more Leeds on that left side. Some rumours of Igor Paixão again, who plays for Marseille. Leeds tried to get him last year, he went to Marseille. Marseille are in financial trouble. Maybe Leeds can get a deal done. I don't know. They're also looking for a striker to truly challenge DCL and just provide like-for-like backup, because Lucas Mecha looks quite good off the left, actually. Can play on the left wing a little bit, left inside striker, or when we go to a 4-4-2. But he's pacey. He wants to play on the last man. With his back to goal, Lucas Mecha, even though he looks very tall, he's actually quite weak. If you watch Leeds closely, when Mecha comes onto the pitch, it's often your sort of big Premier League centre-backs are just bullying him and he's falling over. He can't do what DCL does in that regard, and that's often what you need in the last 20 minutes of a game. It's someone that can do the dog's work, that can really sort of tire the defence out. And you might be 1-0 up, you might be getting stretched. You need someone that can say to the centre-backs, all right, look, we're not having much of the ball, but when the ball gets lumped up to me, you're on for a fight here, and I'm going to slow things down and take it to the corner, and Lucas Mecha can't do it. So they're looking for a striker, but it'll have to be a backup type, or maybe someone with a bit of promise as well. We'll have to see. They will need centre-back depth. They do have Sebastian Bornau, but it looks like he's going on loan to Hamburg. He wants starting time. James Justin can play right-sided centre-back, but of course he's been pushed over to left-back, as I said earlier. It looks like Leeds are going to sign Elvedi, Swiss centre-back from Borussia Mönchengladbach. The personal terms are already agreed. Looks a decent player, will come in as some cover. And other than that, it's kind of like, well, the squad's pretty good. And what they've done so far, although I never hold my nerve on this, a big bid for a good player could come in, you never know, and then Leeds will be stretched and they'll be looking at it maybe. But they've signed Ethan Ampadu to a new contract. They've got Anton Stack still in the building, who is so physical and so good at driving forward with the ball. They've still got Noah Okafor. They've still got Calvert-Lewin, and you can bet your bottom dollar that Brighton may have been picking up the phone. When they lost Danny Welbeck, exactly the sort of player that Brighton need, and it still worries me, is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and Leeds got him on a free. Why would Brighton not be picking up the phone saying, we'll give you 10 million? And that would be, maybe Leeds would be thinking, might have to take the profit. The squad cost ratio rules have changed things a little bit in that it stops being totally about sort of player profit and book cost and all the rest of it. So we'll see on that. But where do I think we'll finish? Somewhere between 10th and 15th would be what I'd say. But I'm not stupid. A few injuries in the wrong places is always the concern. We've got good depth. It's Sean Longstaff on the bench. It's Ayo Tanaka on the bench. Ilya Gruev on the bench. Brendan Aronson hopefully on the bench once Noah Okafor's fully fit. James Justin eventually will be on the bench. So we've got good, experienced, physical players on the bench, and that gives me confidence, because what happens with the newly promoted clubs is they think they've got a good 11, and then they get punched in the face, someone gets injured, and they can't deal with it anymore. It happened to Leeds in years gone by. I'm not stupid. It could happen to Leeds again. Could we be in a fight? Potentially. But I'm also sensible. I've looked at some of the other squads. I've looked at other outgoings. I've looked at the physicality of the newly promoted teams. And whilst I think Ipswich might well give it a damn good go, I still have concerns over all of the newly promoted teams, and Leeds are not in Europe. They're not in Europe, which Sunderland are, who are struggling to spend money, really, because they spent so much last summer. They're struggling to push it again this summer. They need a bigger squad. They're in Europe. Key injury to Granit Xhaka. What's happening next? Key injury to Brian Brobby. What's happening next? I think Leeds might be all right. Prediction, 12th. And I think Man City will win the league. Because Arsenal quietly are starting the season with William Saliba out, Declan Rice not fully fit, Bukayo Saka not fully fit, and there's just this little bit of me that says if there's ever any ingredients for a title holder to struggle out the gates and someone to put the pressure on, it's your centre-back's injured, your central defensive midfielder's not fit, and your star winger's not fully fit. Something says to me that Enzo Maresca will start well at City, they're healthier, and Man City will win the league. Have a great day. Thank you. Marching on together.
The BCS podcast is written, produced, edited and hosted by me, Brett Walker. Thank you to Boban Apostolov and Pixabay for the use of the music and sound effects in this episode.